Welcome to the Rooster Teeth podcast. Matt, theme song.
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know the theme song. What is it?
It's
Do we have one?
It's different every week.
That's different every week. You know what? The theme song that's in my head right now is my 4-year-old goes to this church kind of class thing he does, and he's somehow single-handedly switched from saying prayers before lunch to now the entire class of 4-year-olds all sings the theme from Superman, but barking as if they're dogs. And this is somehow qualifies as a prayer in this church school, and
a metaphor for religion in general.
I think so.
If there is a God, I'm sure He approves.
That's right.
or she approves.
Ruff, 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 I think is how it goes for like 5 minutes.
You know, I just got an aim from Ben just now. It said something is the best web invention I have seen in my lifetime. So the question becomes: will Ben hate this thing before the end of the podcast?
I'm wondering if he's already hating it since sending that email. It's like I totally regret sending that email. I hate it already.
Ben is getting like this amalgam of all the traits of Rooster Teeth employees. Jeff is the guy who... Jeff's on vacation this week, by the way.
That's why we can make fun of him more easily.
And we have Matt. Say hello, Matt.
Hey, I'm not filler. I'm the real deal.
No, you're filling in.
Jeff was filling in for me the previous 6 weeks.
No, you're special guest star.
I like that even better.
It's like a custom title.
I'm way too important for this bullshit every week.
Yeah.
I just come in, to bring up the ratings, and then I'm fucking out of here.
It's the heavy hitter. It's sweeps week.
Well, I'm sorry to say, Matt, that your theme song is actually worse than Jeff's, who is possibly the worst singer in the history of the
world. Hey, when you insult me, you're insulting children and religion. So... I would take that back. And dogs.
And Superman.
So you're going to hell on Krypton, I think.
We may be cutting Jeff's theme song in as the permanent podcast theme song. It was so good. Anyway, you were saying Ben's accumulating all of our worst traits?
Well, like, Jeff's the guy who will, every time he discovers something, it's like going to be the greatest thing in his life. Like, it's going to be the thing that changes his life. It doesn't matter what it is.
He just found out about soup the other day.
Yeah.
Soup's like the greatest thing ever now.
Yeah, that's
is that his current thing?
No, I don't.
Everything's the best or the greatest. This is the best
greatest.
X. This is the greatest Y. Yeah. That's half of Jeff's day right there. That's half of the conversations with Jeff.
And it's like that he sits down and figures like, how am I going to revolve my life around this thing? Because clearly this is going to completely change my life and make it awesome. And then within 2 weeks, we never hear about it again.
No.
Ever. Is it 2 weeks even? Maybe a week?
Well, it varies. I'll give him that much credit. He's inconsistent.
Give him credit for being inconsistent.
So when he comes back this week, he'll come back from his vacation in Miami.
So I'm wondering it's going to be like Cuban food or
just Miami
string bikinis or what do they have? What else do they have? In
mojitos.
Mojitos. That's what it's going to be. I mean, have you ever had a mojito before? It's the greatest thing ever. It's made with lime and sugar
and sugar cane
and magic. I think would be the other ingredient Jeff would claim is in there.
We're on a weird tangent now. I'm scrambling for a way to get away from this conversation.
Well, I have a way.
How?
E3 starts this weekend, doesn't it?
Dun, dun, dun. I thought E3 was over.
No. I think E3 starts tomorrow.
No, I thought the whole thing was over.
Oh, it was over for a year.
For a year.
And then it was back.
But so what is E for all?
That's E3 is now like for industry people, like it was intended to be. E for all is for the public as well.
And E for all is the one that sucks.
Yes.
Okay.
E3 sucks too.
I thought E3 went away, and then the dudes who owned E3, whoever those poor people are, then sold it to the people who own E for all, and then E for all went off. Did they not think we should sign a non-compete, and that they wouldn't bring back E3?
This is like trying to figure out the audio companies right now. It's like I'm feeling that you're going to start being able to buy a Chrysler Fiat at the at E3.
Man, sign me up. Get me on that waiting list.
So the auto companies in there that their plan is they're going to just dump brands, right? They're going to streamline.
They're going to stream. Yes. Are they going to make fewer cars though, or are they just getting rid of brands? Like you can't buy a Saturn anymore, but you can buy 14 different varieties of GMC.
Well, you're a Saturn owner.
I am. I'm actually sad about the Saturn thing. I have to say. Well, I thought Saturn was a cool company because it was one of very Okay, I can't go on with this.
Wow.
I came up so fast.
Because he's going to go right into the cult spiel. I have a pamphlet I'd like you to take away.
You know what they do? Do you know what they do? It's there, and it totally makes you join the cult. When you buy the car, about 3 weeks later, you're still in that new car kind of zone. I got a new car, but it's starting to fade a little bit. And that's when you get cookies in the mail. I shit you not. Saturn sends you cookies. Hey, thanks for buying a car. What car company sends you cookies? They don't do that.
No, nobody
You
does that.
get cookies. It's really weird.
I'm
But
very-
you get them and you're like, hey, this is I'm on board.
I don't know
with
why.
this.
Maybe it's my nature. I'm very wary of baked goods in the mail.
But you know what? The cookies that they send you have that new car smell.
You know,
So it's really fun. Trust them. I mean,
You know, another great thing Saturn
wanna
does
bite
is
right in. They smell like the evergreen tree that you hang on your rearview mirror.
Saturn also lets you pay sticker price for your car.
what does that mean?
That's true.
Everyone will let you pay sticker price
That's
for your
true.
car.
It's like a no
They have
haggle
the no
thing.
haggle thing.
Yeah.
There's a whole long explanation about the no haggle thing. Would you like to hear that?
I would.
No, you wouldn't. 'Cause
Is it
it's-
long? How
it's-
long?
It's too boring, actually.
It sounds like you pay
I was
the price on the
expecting
car.
you to go, no, don't tell us
It
that.
seems like
And I was
every
gonna
week
get
we
there.
talk about something that's dead. Last week it was Paul Harvey. This week it's Saturn.
Yeah, I got accused of being too old to make a Paul Harvey reference, but you made it.
Paul
so.
Harvey drove a Saturn.
Did he really?
No.
Jesus. Rich Hall did. All right, I can feel us sliding backwards here.
Okay.
We're gonna have to start cutting brands here ourselves really quickly. Let's abandon the Paul Harvey. That franchise is done for us. My first car was a Datsun 200SX, and it was where glass met glass on the door because the way this was like a sports car, I guess, but it was like a 1980 car. And after a while, that rubber grommet just went away, so I literally just had a gap between two pieces of glass. And
Nice.
It just sounded like a whistle constantly in my car. It was nice.
Sounds
Take
nice.
your girl on a date and just shout the entire time. The car talked, though, which was fucking awesome.
The car talked.
Yeah,
It had like one of those, your door is open.
exactly. Door is ajar. And it's like, it wouldn't do it. Like, the only thing it would do, like, if you left the key ignition, key is in the ignition. It, of course, would only do this if the car was off. So, this is how stupid you are as a teenage driver. To show people that my car would talk, I would get up to like 50 miles an hour, put the car in neutral, turn the car off, power steering, turn the car off, and then pull the key out or open the door with the key in so it would say, your door is ajar or key is in the ignition.
Why couldn't you do
Your
this?
lights are on.
Why couldn't you
50
do this
miles
while
an
you were parked?
Because we're moving, and it just came up in conversation. So why not put the car neutral at 50 miles an hour, turn off the car, and the steering wheel would sometimes lock like it does when you have the car turned off. So imagine that at 50 miles an hour.
I'm glad-
Brilliant.
I'm glad it
you,
didn't have
brilliant.
that.
You grew up in Houston, so it's a lot of straight driving. So
Yeah.
at least you had that working in your favor.
I actually did sell that car. I bought that car for $200 because the dude who sold it to me said, "Oh, this car's completely busted. The radiator, or the fluid system on it's completely busted." Well, he says, "Watch, I'm going to make sure you're aware of this." And he pours a pitcher of water into the radiator, and it all just dumps out the bottom. And he said, "I've changed the hoses here and everything, and it just doesn't work. So anybody who wants to take this, just take this car away, and you can have it for $200." So I was 15. I was like, okay. He missed a hose at the bottom. There's a hose at the bottom of the radiator. So I literally bought the car for $200, went to Chief Auto Parts and bought a $5 hose and had a perfectly running car.
It's crazy.
Car ran for 8 years. You knew me when I had that car,
Yeah,
right?
So what had ever happened to that car? I don't remember.
I sold it to George, a friend of ours.
Oh, that
George.
was cruel.
And he wanted to learn about cars. So he bought this car to just because I sold it for $200.
If I recall, don't you have a story about George immediately driving that car and trying to change the oil in the parking lot?
So he's going to change his own oil. So he drove it to work one day, and immediately after driving it to work, he went to work changing the oil on it, which if you drain the oil out of a hot engine, not a great idea. And he was going to catch the oil in like one of those little
Plastic grocery bags?
Exactly. Like those super thin plastic bags you get at the grocery store, right? And he's going to catch the oil in that. Goes right through that, melts it, gets oil all over him, all over his head. I mean, I was laughing at him because he's covered in this black sludge, but I mean, he could have been burned for all I know. But yeah, he was fine, and
The only thing burned was his ego.
it was pretty funny, man. I mean, George knows everything. He's just a guy we used to work with. He just knows everything about everything. It seems like
I don't think I've ever sold a car to a friend.
George sold a house, like literally the house. He kept the land but sold the house, and they took the house away. Who do you call to do that? Like, I need you to move my house. Somebody else bought it. Please take it away. He bought just like this. He bought one of these, Central Austin like lots where the lot's worth a ton of money. He just had an old house on it, and so he just had to move the house away with a crane.
With a crane?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I know they can do that with mobile homes. This was a house.
No, yeah, I've seen him do it. They did that to a house like 3 houses down from where I live. They took a house off of a giant lot, and they split the lot up into 3 lots, and they're selling that now.
They can do that. It's usually a pretty big deal when you try to do that.
Yeah, they had to they literally had to cut the house on my street. They had to cut the house in half, and then they had
In order to move it?
Yeah, and then they brought like 2 or 3 semis in, and
What if they cut it in half the
I
wrong
didn't-
way? Like they cut off the top floor.
I wish
They're
I-
like, that's still too wide. What were we thinking?
I wish I had seen them cut it in half because I have no idea how they did that. Like I just walked by there one day and I was like, oh, the house isn't two giant pieces now.
I could do that.
It's like there's always like those crazy tools that you never see like until like that one day that like they bring it out. Like if you're ever like driving in like East Texas, like you go past like some places where they do like strip mining, like you see these like enormous machines. I don't even know what they're called. They look like they're from like the future or like science fiction or something that like just go out there and they're like, you know, an acre long, one machine, and it just like tears up the ground.
Yeah, like have you ever seen those pictures on the internet of that machine that looks like a giant saw blade?
I was about to bring it up, yeah.
And it's got like basically dump trucks on each of the teeth, and it goes around.
It's like a saw blade with buckets for teeth.
Yeah.
But the buckets are each the size of a dump truck. That's how big they are.
That's crazy.
And this thing just like chews through the
And it's
ground.
got like 30 of them.
I think it's in
around the
Germany.
blade. Yeah.
It like moves along these like railroad tracks and just like goes. It's horrible.
That's what they should make a Terminator movie about
That's
that
what
machine.
will take over the future right there.
Yeah, that's the machine I'm scared of.
Yeah, like why don't they just have that machine and like just pull that out on the battlefield? You know what I mean? And just scare the shit out of people, even if it doesn't do anything. You know, so you see dirt flying, you're like, what the fuck? I'm leaving. I wouldn't stick around for that thing to get close to me.
Yeah, they should put that in the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare game.
Well, speaking of moving,
Wow,
Segway.
well, I was going to segue from moving houses to Up, which I thought was a much nicer segue. But if we want to go to the Call of Duty trailer, let's go for it. So, it's Call of Duty World
This
at
is the-
War
no,
Call of
Fair Modern Warfare 2 trailer
This is
came
the
out.
most confusing title to me.
Video games get like that. Video games, you know when they're an established franchise because the titles
this
just
is
get
really Call of Duty number
6.
6, but in the title it says it's number
4-2.
4.
It is. It's Call of Duty 4-2.
So you
It
add the
is.
4 and the 2, you get 6. Why was I ever confused?
Duh.
Well, I think Infinity Ward has reached the point now where they just want to separate themselves completely from the franchise. I think they just want to start calling it Modern Warfare, and now they're like branching it off as Modern Warfare versus the historical warfare. The trailer came out, and I watched the trailer, and it looked pretty cool. But I can't help but wonder: do we really need trailers for video games? Is that something that we need? I mean, video games as a format and the way the game is constructed, we have the ability to have demos for video games. So if we can have a demo, an interactive demo, why do we need a trailer?
Because it's easier to put out a trailer than a demo. You can put out a trailer before your code complete or before you're far enough along in the development process.
I guess so, but does that really who watches the trailer for a video game? Really? I mean, do people just randomly go out and watch it? 400,000 people watch this thing on YouTube. So let's just take these 400,000 people. Probably these are all people who played Modern Warfare 1-1, right? I'm assuming?
1A.
Yeah, 1A.
Well, let me tell you something even crazier than that. The other day, Nathan was saying he saw a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 trailer on TV.
On TV?
Yeah, and I thought, wow, that's crazy. I thought it was just on the internet. Then he came back the next day. He's like, oh, no, I saw it again. It wasn't actually a trailer. It was a commercial saying there was going to be a trailer during the NBA Finals.
Really?
And it said to tune in during the finals to watch a new trailer or new commercial.
It's funny, I didn't see that, but I saw the promo the previous day that said there was going to be a commercial that promoted the trailer. And I was thinking, this looks pretty interesting. I should watch it for that commercial.
They want a marketing campaign that's as confusing as the title.
They need a
That's what they
marketing
want.
campaign to hype the marketing campaign.
That's right.
Well, it's like, I mean, you look at movie marketing campaigns, right? Like, they do these big things during the Super Bowl for summer movies, and they start, like, really gearing up in January. But when it boils down to it, it's a $7 or $10 decision for people to make. Like, I'm going to go see this movie. But it's all this hype, like, they just generate, like, tons and tons of marketing. And it works. I mean...
Well, I mean, yeah, it's only a $7 or $10 decision, but they are competing against, a large number of other big movies coming out during the summer.
Right. And I guess this Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is coming out 11/10/9, right? Which is, I mean, they might as well just say Christmas, because that's the Christmas buying season. And sure, they came up with a cool date, but, I mean, that's just basically right before Thanksgiving when people just start spending lots of money.
Right.
But, I mean, do people start plotting their $60 purchase this far in advance, or is it just...
It's so kids can start dropping the hints to their parents.
Right. And it's funny because they do it with franchises more, right? Like, Modern Warfare 2 will get a lot more marketing than a new game than, say, like, Prototype.
Sure.
Well, because they know how much it sold already.
Right, but then... doesn't the game itself then have momentum, right? I mean, doesn't it have, like, I'm going to buy the next Halo game, I'm going to buy the next Call of Duty game, If they came out with WoW 2, would they advertise the shit out of that?
Well, they advertise the shit out of WoW still.
They do, right? I guess it's just keeping the ball rolling, right?
Right.
Is a big part of it. But like, there's new games that come out that have the potential to become a franchise. You think there'd be more money invested in like trying to get these things off the ground?
I wonder how much of it also is established brands buying the ad time and the ad space to freeze out the competition.
No, that's an
Not so
point.
much, to promote themselves, but to keep the competition from promoting their games.
We've certainly heard of that happening before. Interesting. That's a good point. But like when I think about like movie trailers, right? Mm-hmm. I can recall very easily some of the best movie trailers I've ever seen. Like, what's the best movie trailer you've ever seen, Gus?
Oh man,
how about you, Matt?
I got two that would always stick out to me.
Yeah.
Raging Bull.
Okay.
It's a great trailer. If you've never seen it, you can see it on I think you can see it on the Raging Bull DVD. I think it's on there. And Cliffhanger, which was an incredible trailer for a terrible movie.
Well, one of the most memorable trailers was the Star Wars Episode 1 trailer, where all the Gungans come out of the mist at the beginning. I loved that at the time.
Do you know, I still think that
terrible
trailer made Adam Sandler's career. Because that trailer was in front of Waterboy, and Waterboy had a $40 million opening.
However, it was also in front of Wing Commander.
Wing Commander.
Oh,
Did not do so well.
It had one good opening.
And I'm pretty sure Wing Commander came out before Waterboy.
Yeah, but there was a huge Freddie Prinze Jr. saturation.
I don't know if you remember this also.
Matthew Lillard, wasn't he in it?
Matthew Lillard, wow.
I don't know if you remember this about that trailer also, but like you could watch it on the Apple website, in
I
QuickTime.
do.
But if you wanted to watch the high-res one, you had to have QuickTime Pro.
Bro, I vaguely remember that.
You had to pay $30 basically to watch a commercial.
Right.
Which that's going on too. Like this Terminator Machinima that's out, you have to pay to watch that. But isn't that basically just like a promotional thing? You have to pay to watch that.
Yeah, it's $3 an episode.
No way.
There's going to be 6.
It turns out basically more than the movie. There's a lot of promotional stuff out there right now that's for money. That's people they want you to pay to watch or consume. Like those Star Trek comics that were on the iPhone, which were pretty good, but those were like $1 each. It's almost $5 by the time you finished it. It's like, let's go see the movie again.
It's crazy.
It certainly didn't last as long as the movie, but
do you know that people say sometimes that going to the movies, the best part of going to the movies is the trailers. Heard that?
Yeah, some people really like them.
That adage before. I wonder. I've heard in other countries, like in European countries, when they list the movie times, they list like the movie starts at 7:15 and the trailers start at 7. So if you want to skip the trailers, you just when the movie actually starts, you just go right to it. But I wonder if at some point it'd be like, do you want to see just the movie? It's $8. Do you want to see the movie and all the stuff that comes before it? It's going to be $9.50.
Yeah, I had
what I mean?
No kidding.
I had a very different experience when I was living in Puerto Rico. Like you gave the example of trailer start at 7, movie starts at 7:15. In Puerto Rico, like let's say the movie time was 7 o'clock, and you want to get there a little early. You show up at 6:45. You want to buy your ticket. They're like, no, movie doesn't start till 7. Like, yeah, I know, I want to buy my ticket. No, movie starts at 7. That's when we start selling tickets.
Really?
Yeah, and then so you buy your ticket when the movie time starts. And then you go in and you wait for like another fucking half hour.
And then they start whenever.
And then they just start whenever.
Ready.
Yeah, whenever they feel like it.
We're on the thing before the movie comes up. I tell you, said this Pixar Up movie that's coming out.
Yep.
What I'm most excited about going to see this movie is to see the short film that comes before it, because Pixar always releases those short films, and they're always great. The one they had with the
I've
magician.
seen it.
Oh, you've seen the short film already?
I've seen the short film.
Presto.
It's called.
Well, Presto was the one.
Presto was the last one.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to. Color your opinion of it or anything like that. What was your favorite short film before a Pixar movie?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, they've all been so good. I can tell you my least favorite one, I think, was the Alien sequence one where the abduction, and I can't remember which one.
Oh, yeah, the farm. Maybe that was Ratatouille.
No, it was before that, I thought.
I think
Yeah, before Ratatouille.
I thought Ratatouille.
No.
I thought Ratatouille was Presto, but I'm not positive.
No. Presto was Wall-E.
Yeah.
Presto was Wall-E. You're right.
Anyway, Presto was the one with the magician. That was previously my favorite. This new one is my favorite one.
Really?
I really like this one.
Man, the Presto was so good, and the one. What's the one with the musicians? Where the
one man band.
One man band.
I think that's Cars or something. Who knows?
I think that
my
was Cars.
kids love that one. They would watch that over and
Do
over
they?
and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the short films on the Pixar DVDs are usually really good too, like the Jack's extra stuff.
Oh right, yeah, for Incredibles.
Just great.
Oh
man.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Really
Incredibles was great too, but Up's great.
You've seen all of Up.
I've seen the whole thing, and we saw the short film.
When did you get to see this?
About a month ago, I got to see it at a screening at the Alamo. It was one of those Ain't It Cool ones that we go to.
That's awesome.
And see, those things are kind of rough, too, because when we go to these advanced screenings for stuff, and the Ain't It Cool crew usually gets us into those, and once again, just so we get our free tickets, I want to say how much we appreciate that.
Maserati.
But you have to show up for those things sometimes like an hour in advance. And the people who are in that group of people who do that, they're totally cool with that. But, man, I can't show up an hour in advance for any. It's really hard for me to show up. But it is fun, you know what I mean? It's like it does tend to be the same group of people that go to these screenings. But Up was great. Up has the same quality of every other Pixar movie, just like unbelievable. Like you forget you're watching animation after a while. But it also does that thing where it's got that dark moment in it. And so if you're going to take
That's the moment you hate.
If you're going to take any kids to see it, I mean, you got to be ready for this. And Up has probably the darkest stuff, and it's like right out of the gate. Yeah, it's right out of the gate.
Really?
So that's the only thing I'll say about it because I don't want to ruin it for you. But you should definitely see it.
It's set in like a future like dystopian kind of place, and the guy does not get his social security check. Is that the opening scene of it?
The old man that's in it is actually a 15-year-old kid with a disease. He just looks old, so it's really depressing. And then the short is really great because it's like it's the kind of thing where presto is something you're used to, right? And it's just executed really well, right?
Yeah.
Like that whole teleportation gag, and they just do it over and over again, and it's awesome.
The one thing I find weird about this particular Pixar movie going into it is it seems like Pixar has had a really good thing going where their main character, with a few exceptions on the edges, like Ratatouille, the main character was really the rat, but there was also the bad cook character who was a human, right?
Right.
For the most part, they don't do humans as the main characters. It's usually a toy or a
Right,
car or a rat or whatever. It's something that's not, a human. I find it kind of weird that it's two human characters in this one,
Well,
right?
Incredibles was all humans.
I guess, but that's so.
You guess?
It was
was.
so. I mean, it was so stylized and so about the superhero world. It kind of felt different. That's a good exception.
This one is
You're right.
most definitely
You're right.
about people.
But this one's just like normal, everyday, average people kind of a thing.
And a dog that can talk through some invention, from what I can gather.
Oh,
from
is
the
that right?
commercials. He's got like some collar that.
That's in the
didn't
trailers.
see
That's in the
I
trailers.
haven't seen the trailer. All I've seen is like the 2 seconds. I saw the commercial promo for the trailer for the commercial. That's what I saw in a magazine that I read that was about commercial trailers.
Well, this is. I think it's really great, and it's that like they're saying on that short. It's called Partly Cloudy, I believe. I think I'm getting it right, and it's one of these really like fantastical things that you couldn't make a whole feature about it, but in a short film they just executed it really well. Although who knows? I mean, Pixar seems to be able to develop crazy stuff into features.
Do you think
I wouldn't think a guy taking his house up in balloons could become a feature.
Did you see it in 3D?
No. You see, I saw Aliens versus Monsters or Monsters versus Aliens. I saw that early too, and I didn't get to see it in 3D.
Do you think that
I liked? I liked Monsters versus Aliens.
Do you think when people hear the name Pixar, like it's a Pixar movie, that people distinguish that from the other animated movies that come out like Monsters versus Aliens?
Absolutely.
Do you think Pixar carries cachet that the other movies don't?
My wife has a hard time keeping them straight and telling them apart.
Really? Mm-hmm. I think people do. And if not, they will. It's like Disney versus like Don Bluth stuff. I mean, people will figure it out.
You were talking about Monsters vs. Aliens a second ago, and I had to look this up. I knew Monsters vs. Aliens was the highest grossing movie so far this year.
Yeah.
It just got passed by Star Trek.
It's so funny because I was just about to say that you think people can't differentiate between like production companies and things like that.
Yeah.
But people now are like, they know the box office tallies,
They do.
And they're like, wow. You hear random people in the street going, "Did you hear that Wolverine dropped off 85%?" It's like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
Everyone's got a subscription to Variety now.
Exactly right. I mean,
Thanks, Internet.
It's people are interested in it, and I think especially with movies and things like that, people develop fan bases. I don't think that the studio system really even quite understands it. They just know they do well. Like, who knew Wolverine was, going to do that well? I mean, Wolverine was a huge cult comic hero, right? And this, because virtue of the fact they had 3 X-Men movies out, people it just carried right over into Wolverine, and tons of people went and saw Wolverine. It wasn't just comic book fans or whatever.
Right.
And then they'll put out something like, I don't know, like some other comic book movie, and it just dead. Like
the Hulk.
Like say Sin City. You know what I mean? Sin City's like
Wolverine's one of those perfect combinations of having an actor people like and having him in the role that people want to see him in.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's a lot of great comic book heroes that don't necessarily like get their full impact on screen because it's like do you really want to see Thomas Jane play Punisher? You know?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't really it's not really what you're looking for. You know what I mean?
I want to see John Lithgow
see John Lithgow
play the Punisher.
He's gonna be a Mitzelplick or whatever from Superman. They just shrink him down. But,
he would be great as Mixelplick, Mr. Mixelplick.
Mr. Mitzelplick. But yeah, it's like I think Wolverine was like one of those cases. Like people like Hugh Jackman, they don't necessarily want to see him in the Fountain or whatever, but they want to see him in a role that he's well suited to play. And it's like perfect.
Can I tell you, I got a weird conversation with my wife about Hugh Jackman.
I don't know. It sounds weird already.
Yeah, it was weird. So I'm gonna open up a little bit here. I got upset with my wife for not finding Hugh Jackman attractive. What do you think? What do you think that means? It's like he was on the cover of some magazine, and I said, you must be really happy when a Hugh Jackman movie comes out because he's on the cover of every magazine. She goes, he's not my type. And it's like, I kind of took that as a weird offense because I'm married to this woman, and it's like, what is she trying to say? Does she have some kind of weird, like, she doesn't like what's universally accepted as, like, a good-looking dude?
Well, let me tell you some of the dudes.
I'm more into guys like you.
Yeah, let me tell you some of the dudes my wife likes. Steve Buscemi, Benicio del Toro. I'm in horrible company. Yeah, it's like I tell her every so often, I'm like, I'm glad you have such horrible taste in men. Because otherwise, there's no way I'd ever have had a shot.
I like the turtles from Super Mario. But you can get really like even with these movies that come out, like comic book movies or Wolverine or whatever, living on the internet and interacting with the majority of the people I interact with on the internet, you can really start to get in this bubble of what's popular and what's not. Like
Snakes on a Plane is going to be the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah, or Watchmen was going to be like a watershed moment in cinema, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, then it's like, oh, it's not the case. And you can see this happen all the time.
Yeah.
Like the internet's going crazy. Like, we got to save Dollhouse or we got to save Sarah Connor Chronicles. And it's just like, why is it that every season a popular show on the internet is being canceled on television? Why is that?
Get the hint. It's being canceled for a reason.
Yeah, it's because people aren't, I mean, what is that? Is it just the audience just really isn't there, or the internet people aren't watching shows on television?
It's because the internet people are pirating the shows.
You think it's a big part of it?
BitTorrenting it, and the ratings aren't there. I mean, what else could it be?
Well, that's interesting.
There's no monetary support. We talk about this all the time.
Or it's just a smaller, portion of the the general populace. You know, people who watch, House don't get on the internet. They don't go talk about how awesome House was. It's like, did you see this week? It was just like last week, and it was just like the week before.
It wasn't lupus again.
I'm so happy American Idol's over because all my TV that I watch,
I watch that voting controversy. That's serious stuff, man. Come on.
What are you talking about?
Come on, really. Come on, we got to do something about this. Come on, internet called arms. Come on, voting controversy.
Because Adam Lambert didn't win?
No, did you hear about
apparently, there's a story going around that, what's the other guy's name? Chris Allen? That at some Chris Allen watch party, AT&T reps showed up with, like, store phones and showed people how to power text and send, like, 10 texts at once using phones from the AT&T store.
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all.
Either. Also, the whole thing's rigged. Come on.
It's a show where they generate a pop star. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, it's not like winning American Idol. You don't get money for it.
Come on,
they still both make an album.
You can't tell me you're not excited about the next Ruben Studdard album.
I had a Taylor Hicks joke lined up, man, and you undercut me with that Ruben Studdard.
Who's the chick you never heard of? Contessa? Who is the...
No, Felicia or Fantasia.
Fantasia. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're all still going to make an album.
Yeah.
I mean, Jennifer Hudson got kicked out like halfway through the show. She's won a Grammy and an Oscar. I mean, so we're going into the summer, and there's going to be nothing on TV, basically.
Yeah, not much. But although you know what is going to be on TV that's I find really strange is this whole Jay Leno moving from late night to primetime.
That's bullshit.
Well, it's a pretty interesting departure for the network, don't you think?
No, I think it's
horseshit.
I think it's
terrible.
No, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's an interesting departure that they're getting rid of, the mainstay, third hour slot of dramatic programming in favor of
right. They're getting rid of more narrative content for more talking content.
Exactly.
It's going to be variety in primetime, and that doesn't work.
What do you mean?
Well,
it could be like a variety show.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay.
And that doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't traditionally.
I think it's weird too that something is really even weirder to me than Jay Leno being in that slot is Conan O'Brien being the host of the Tonight Show. I don't know why that's so strange to me, other than like when Conan O'Brien first came on, he seemed like he was more like, counterculture, like weirder humor, The Simpsons and the Saturday Night Live stuff he had done, and like all that cool Amy Poehler stuff that they used to do, and just like it was weird. They had a lot of weird stuff on there, like Masturbating Bear, and
I'm glad you brought it up.
You know, all that stuff was like really funny.
It's
and
their Walker Texas Ranger stuff.
Yeah, I mean that stuff was great, and they're not. I don't think they're going to be able to do that.
No, but David Letterman threw stuff off a 5-story building, and when he went over to CBS, he didn't do that stuff. I mean, Letterman would get a bowl of cereal. Remember that stuff?
I guess that's true. Letterman never seemed like he had quite the same weird edge that Conan had.
He was pretty weird, though. He really was. I mean, Letterman had Andy Kaufman and wrestlers on.
How old are you?
I mean, what's amazing to me is that Conan O'Brien could make that transition from Late Night with Conan O'Brien to getting the Tonight Show, which is, I mean, that's a Hollywood institution.
It is.
And Letterman couldn't make that move. You know what I mean?
Right.
Conan O'Brien could. Like, Conan O'Brien, to me, still doesn't seem like a real talk show host.
Right.
He still, to me, is like...
He's not an interviewer. He's just like a guy who's funny at parties, and he has some funny sketches.
You know
what I mean?
You know who's a guy who's not a good interviewer and who is not funny at parties?
No.
Jimmy Fallon.
Well, Jimmy Fallon, though, seems to me to be the same level as Conan O'Brien. You know?
The same type of...
No,
guy.
like Jimmy Fallon taking over Conan's show, he immediately seems at the same level as Conan to me, even though Conan did it for 11 years, 12 years.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And then there's like the guy who's after them, like Carson Daly or whoever's after them.
Craig Ferguson?
Carson Daly's
he's on
show?
Craig Ferguson does like a 30-minute monologue every day.
30 minutes?
It just goes forever.
Is he speaking that Scottish accent the
whole
time?
He's awesome. He's awesome. Like that's a dude you would love to like show up at a party. He would just take over the entire party, talk for an hour and a half straight, leave, and you'd be like, what the fuck just happened here?
There wouldn't be anybody else left at the party, though.
No,
they would have left 15 minutes into the
He's entertaining. I haven't seen any Jimmy Fallon, so I can't talk about it.
Yeah, it's rough.
The only thing I remember about Jimmy Fallon really was that he ruined every sketch he was in on his last season of Saturday Night Live. Especially if he was in
laughing?
with the laughing.
Well, I almost did that.
Now
ruined our last.
He can now with his talk show, he can look straight into the camera and not ruin anything with it. SNL, that was his two things. He'd always look straight into the camera and laugh.
Good thing that they don't have a picture of Horatio Sands' face behind the teleprompter. Right? I think that was what did it to him every time. He would look over at Horatio Sands and just he couldn't keep it together.
And Jimmy Fallon's show could catch on fire, explode, fall into the ocean, and get eaten by a shark, and it still wouldn't be as dramatic as a decline as Amy Poehler going from Saturday Night Live to that fucking horrible show on NBC.
Yeah.
And there's I don't know who's running that thing, but they're taking other people down with them, like the dude from Human Giant, Aziz. It's just like they need to just yank that show, or I don't know, do something with it. That'll probably be one of those shows where they completely redo it in its second season. Like, it doesn't even look like the same show anymore. They do that occasionally. Like, didn't they do that with that Joey show?
I think so, yeah. Like, didn't he get, like, a girlfriend or something like that he didn't have before?
Yeah, they, retool the show completely. Like, suddenly he's an astronaut. And it's like, well, he wasn't an astronaut the first season. It's like, you know, this is Joey.
It's got to happen organically.
He got an acting job as an astronaut, therefore he is an astronaut.
And then NASA thought he was a real astronaut because he did such a good job. And next thing you know, he's in space.
Holy shit! We just wrote a new sitcom. This is a badass sitcom. Can we sell this right now? No, we copyright this. Stop taking it internet.
Stop recording.
Gus and I are being ridiculed for just these bald faces we have now after the saving face video that we made.
Well, we were talking about Jimmy Fallon cracking up, and I was telling my wife last night about the scene that we shot, the one shot. I had to actually leave the room. The line that Bernie does with the mustache, where he says,
"Are they going to do work at an auto plant?"
What do you do? Work at an auto plant? I don't think so. When he said that, I ruined how many takes?
You probably
ruined
like
takes?
4 or 5 takes.
And we were shooting backwards, so it was like one of the last things we were shooting.
And it was hot, and because we had to turn off the air conditioner and stuff, and we're in Texas.
I still don't believe we have to turn off the air conditioner, by the way.
Well, listen to the other one that we shot that we're throwing out the audio for, but we're doing that line, and it's something about it. Like once when Bernie got to the part where he like does the little smirk and the eyebrow up move with the mustache, it was like I couldn't stop laughing every time, every take. And I looked at the outtakes of it, and after every take, it's like Bernie's doing a great job, and he gets to the end, and his eyes like go above the camera to me, looking at me, going, "What the hell's the matter with you?" And then it's just like you hear footsteps. And
Did you end up using the first take?
No, I used the one where I was out of the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I ruined a few takes during Captain Dynamic when Ed was doing his.
A few?
Captain Slippery and Captain whatever.
Yeah.
I had to.
It was funny. You wouldn't even be in the room. Then, like, we'd get to that point, you'd walk in just to hear, like, it'd say Captain Slippery, and you'd burst out laughing, and then you'd walk out. And everyone would be like, motherfucker, not again.
It was funny. It was funny. We had a good time. What else do we need to talk about, Gus? You're running this.
We should probably wrap up here pretty soon.
Oh.
Anyone got any last things they want to talk about?
We have a play date for Halo Wars on Friday night, depending on when this podcast comes out.
Tonight is Friday night, the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the podcast will be up before then.
Hopefully so. And then we have some other stuff we're working on now. Gus is now taking over the podcast from me, so he'll be putting it out.
You can, I should probably plug this, you can now subscribe to the podcast via iTunes and get it automatically synced up with your music player.
Yes, please do, because we want as many hits as possible, so we get money from the hit company that pays you for hits. Is that how that works?
You can still visit our website. Please come by and say hello.
And what else do we need to discuss? Anything else? Drag Me to Hell's coming out. Anybody got any comments about that?
Up comes out this week. We already talked about that. Drag Me to Hell.
I love the idea of Drag Me to Hell and Up coming out the same weekend because everyone, like on every entertainment website, talks about it in terms of counter programming. Like it's this thing you do. Like if there's a kiddie movie coming out, obviously you release a horror movie against it.
So if Drag Me to Hell and if Drag Me to Hell is the horror movie this week and Up is the children's movie this week, what porno is coming out this week? All right. Well, we got to go. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Matt.
I won't be here every week because I am a special guest star, but I did appreciate the. Wait, I didn't get any applause or anything. A sarcastic applause.
It was sincere. I assure you.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.